The cure to social justice is self-respect. Now this video is somewhat of a follow-up to my last video, but it's also a video asking a question that I myself have received a number of times, that I've seen asked in many other places. What is the solution to these woes that ail us? What are we supposed to do about the left, about the social justice movement, about these destructive, narcissistic forces that are running rampant in our society? Well, to make a long story short, the only solution is an individual solution. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. Now, it'd be worth revisiting what exactly social justice is. Now, social justice, of course, it started off as intellectual laziness with John Rawls in his book on justice. And it achieved its zenith in the modern day thanks to the self-esteem movement. Now, what Rawls explored in his book was this approach to justice. Instead of trying to come up with equitable laws, mathematical laws, going back to property, who owns what, who was harmed, how much, how can we recompensate the person that was injured in a just and fair manner. Instead of all of that, Rawls proposes the very simple analysis. Let's look at arbitrary demographics, race, sex, income bracket, township, etc. Let's draw these lines through the sand and see if there's disproportionate punishment arriving at certain groups. Now, of course, a demographer can break a population down into whatever groups they want and find whatever perceived harms they want. And so this analysis is just intellectual laziness. It appears like you're doing something. You can write reams and reams on this stuff, but at the end of the day, it all signifies nothing. It doesn't answer questions. It doesn't answer, is this actually justice? It's just tables upon tables of meaningless numbers that get us nowhere. But you can look like you're part of the intelligentsia by doing it without having to do any real research or any soul searching or any of the other things that academians used to do in centuries past. But it wasn't until the self-esteem movement became big, this whole it's okay to cry generation, everybody gets a trophy generation, whatever you feel is true, that all of this really started to come together into the social justice movement. To really sum this up, to really explain that the core of social justice is individual insanity, the core of leftism is individual sanity. Let me tell you about, it's an idea for a book I had that I probably will write as soon as I have a desk again. That is essentially a mix of, it's going to be part The Prince and part the Screw Tape Letters. Very satirical and brutally analytical at the same time. With the working title right now, Lying for Fun and Profit. Now, the premise of this book is that most people are sinners and they love being sinners. Now, by sin, of course, we're going back to the original meaning of that term, which means missing the mark, falling short, not getting a bullseye, not getting exactly what you want. So if you're going to be a liar for fun and profit, if you're going to profit off of the sins of other people, well, what sort of sins, what sort of ways do people fall short? Are you fat and that makes you feel bad? Well, then we need some less fat shaming and more fat acceptance. Are you bad with women? Well, don't learn game, don't try and improve yourself as a man. No, it's, the girls will come around, they're going after the bad boys right now, but, they'll come around, they'll like you eventually. Just keep being a nice guy. You're just a nice guy. Do you regret having sex? Well, clearly you were manipulated by somebody else and forced to have sex through brainwashing, so it's rape. Are you an economic failure? Well, no, it's not your fault. It's somebody else holding you down. You're being oppressed. Are you socially awkward? Well, no, you're not the one with the problem. It's society that has a problem. You're a special, unique snowflake. So on and so on and so on. See, what you do is you take all of these flaws that people have and you rationalize the flaws for them. You turn them into heroes for being flawed. Instead of celebrating overcoming your failures, instead of, you don't have any money, get a job, work harder, or get an education or something like that. You're bad with women, learn game, get interested. Maybe you're not that interesting. Maybe women don't like you because you're not interesting. You regret having sex, well, then maybe you should learn from that experience and not put yourself in the situation where you have sex with somebody that you regret. Maybe you shouldn't get blackout drunk at a frat party. All of these are challenging. All of those attack the esteem, the ego of the individual. Instead, you want to bloat the individual, the ego. Bloat the ego. Tell them they're special. They're a snowflake. You're just a nice guy. It's the world that's wrong, not you. And so you feed into these sins. Everything that they've done, that they feel bad about, you tell them, oh, don't feel bad about that. Feel good about that. And right there, you've got the social justice movement. It is the self-esteem movement. This idea that I have a human right to feel good about myself, to feel high self-esteem at all times. And quite frankly, the solution to this, the opposite of self-esteem, is self-respect. The two words are used very interchangeably nowadays, but self-respect means looking back upon yourself. It means like respecting, having a spectacle, a point of view, looking back upon who you are and what you've accomplished and knowing who you are by those accomplishments. If you've spent your entire life just sitting at home playing video games, then you really don't have much to respect on. You don't really know much about yourself. If you've been sitting around on welfare, taking the easy path your whole time, you have nothing to respect. You have a lot to esteem, obviously, because self-esteem is all about rationalizing failures, but you have nothing to respect. So the solution to social justice, the opposite of social justice, is improving yourself, is admitting when you failed, and it is, in fact, failing. It's moving forward, trying new things, and failing and trying to get better, and admitting your failures. Vox Day and John C. Wright have been writing about this recently. In fact, I was trying to put this video together before they even wrote any of this, but they put it so perfectly that I need to paraphrase from them. What's the difference between us and a social justice warrior? It's really not that much. We're all flawed human beings. We all, are embarrassed about something, ashamed of something, except we admit it to ourselves. That's the difference. It's the tiniest little difference, that we admit to ourselves that we're flawed human beings, and rather than running from shame, as the social justice warriors do, we punch through the shame into self-improvement. If I did something that made me feel ashamed, then I will go and try and give restitution to anybody I harmed, and I'm going to try not to do anything like that again, as opposed to rationalizing it and reveling in your shame, which is the self-esteem solution, which is the social justice solution. So admitting our own faults, that's the difference between us and them. And it's by admitting our own faults that we improve as people. And ultimately, that is how we fight against this whole thing. Now, maybe at this point you're saying, well, yeah, this is wonderful advice for living a happy life, but what does this have to do with defeating the left, with defeating the social justice warriors? Well, what else does it have to do? What else? Like living a good life is the argument. There's a quote I heard a while back saying that, karma Karma exists, and it works on a societal level. Not an individual level, a societal level. That when you have societies that are overcome with depravity, self-indulgence, and every other kind of sin, that eventually those societies get their comeuppance. You know, like it or not. It's a societal force. That's what karma is. And so, by you living a better life, by you improving yourself, by you not adopting these comforting, easy lies, but always seeking self-betterment, you right there are acting to oppose this karma, to ensure a better future. You know, this is why the Christians say, you know, you are the salt of the earth. You are the preservative. You are the bit that preserves the things that are good in the earth merely by existing. Merely by you existing and being a good person, you are preserving that goodness by rejecting the easy lies. And the second point about this is living a good life, living virtuously, you know, attaining wisdom. These are not movements. In fact, the whole problem with the 20th century and the 21st century so far has been movements. You know, to quote John C. Wright, the thing about heresies is that they are always very simple. You know, we have this very complex body of philosophy, body of law, body of theology. Civilization is really complex. Being a good person is really complex. And there's no simple answers. Again, the answer, you're bad meeting women? Well, I do not have a magic pill I can sell you. I do not have a single pickup line that I can sell you. You know, instead you'll have to learn to approach women, to talk to them. You'll have to become interesting. You'll have to read books. You'll have to get an interesting job. You know, you'll have to get some money. These are the things that you have to do to be good with women. The easy solution is just be yourself. You know, crawl inside your narcissistic shell and just be yourself. And then blame reality. Go all Elliot Rodger because you can't get laid. No, the real solution is complex. And the thing about social movements is that they are never complex. They're all about catchphrases and slogans. And see, we need to be better than catchphrases and slogans. We need to be complex if we're going to fight the social justice movement. I think really the fight is against movements in general. Leftism, social justice, you know, these are just the latest labels for the psychotic, destructive movements that have been plaguing us really for the past few centuries, ever since monarchy started to fall apart. And at the end of the day, you know, not only is living a rich and interesting life the best way to fight against this simplistic nonsense, it's also the best way to live your life. We've only got one shot on this planet. You know, you've got 60 to 100 years, somewhere around there, to make mistakes, to better yourself, to enjoy yourself. And yeah, right now there's a lot of problems. You know, we could go on about problems. You know, the divorce rate's 50%, the economy is going down the tubes, politics has become nothing but this theater show. We could go on and on and on about that. But at the same time, we are some of the most lucky, well-educated, well-fed people that have ever existed. There are a lot of challenges out there right now. But forget about the politics. Forget about the negativity. That is the reality. Look at the real world. You know, we are not the social justice movement. We do not make excuses for ourselves. Look at the real world, make an accurate assessment of the real world, and then ask yourself, Where do I fit into this? Where can I carve out a little space for myself that will make me happy? You know, a bit of property, or maybe traveling all over in different rental properties. You know, do you want a few playmates that you allow to move into your home with you? Do you want to go solo? Do you want to make a bunch of money? Do you want to just keep yourself safe? Like, yes, you're not going to get a career with the company and a loyal and indifferent wife. You know, yes, that is gone. We have all been lied to. We need to get over the lies. But it is also, it is one of the best times to be alive. I mean, thank God they still let us drive cars and smoke cigarettes. You know, I don't know what the future will be like, but right now we can drive cars and we can smoke cigarettes. And there's a lot of possibility out there. And by embracing that, by living a good life, indirectly you accumulate capital, whether it be social capital or financial capital. You become more powerful. One thing that we are really seeing with the social justice movement is it is a very small minority of losers. And when you're in a position of having financial capital, of having social capital, then you can confidently speak against these people. You know, you can call out other heresies. Maybe not today, maybe in 20 years. Maybe it'll be a whole new heresy, a whole new bit of nonsense that they're trying to spread. And we do have to participate somewhat politically. You know, the solution is not just to sit poolside and have I don't think anybody wants that. You know, the solution is not to give up and spend your next 10 years, you know, taming the dragon and then dying with a throat full of vomit in an alley somewhere. That's not the solution either. The solution is not giving up. The solution is finding a smart way to live that is in accordance with your values and being very, very certain, very disciplined, and making sure you are not deluding yourself. You are not allowing yourself to indulge in insanity, and that you're creating a positive karmic contribution to the world. The cure to social justice, folks, is living a life that gives you self-respect. Irini out.